Well, yesterday turned out to be a nice day, and I got to take Red out. You can see by all the bugs on the front, I had a good time. A couple of 100 miles after work. Absolutely ran beautiful. If you've watched any of the other videos, you knew I had brake problems on the front rotor when I first took it out of the garage this year. That is all fixed. That EBC rotor is still working perfectly. The problem I had yesterday is when I bought this bike, it had a bad cooling fan. Put a new fan on it. It's not unusual for those to go out because they are in a horrible environment back there behind that rear cylinder. Super, super hot. So, put a new fan on when I got it about a year ago. Thought it'd be good for a while. Stopped to have dinner last night and shut the bike off, and I'm like, that fan doesn't sound exactly right. Got done with dinner, rode a little further, and shut it off again. And the fan fired up for just a split second and quit. And I'm like, well, she just popped the fuse. Took off. Yep, check engine light. So, gonna raise it back up, get in there, pull the fan, see what's wrong. I didn't remember the fan being too oily when I changed it the first time. My son says it was, and he's probably right. These things have a bad habit of the back rocker box cover leaking, gets oil out of there, goes into the fan. Fan gets covered in oil, fan gets covered in dirt, sticks in the oil, plus it's super ass hot. So fans go out. So if that's the issue, if it's oily, then we'll be rotating the engine. Change that rocker box cover. I know I have a spare fan. I think I've got all the gaskets I need. So right now, I'm gonna pull the fan out, check it. That gives you the ability to look at that rear cylinder really good. We'll find out what we need to do for sure. Now I go ahead and take the rear tail section off. It's not necessary to do this, but depending on how you lift it up, with me lifting it with the crane and the straps, because it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws and one cable lock to get that off. And now we're down to pulling the shock out of the way. One bolt on top and one down there, and take the reservoir there loose. And just a quick glance down in there, I'd say my son was right. I think I got an oil leak. There, the shock is out. Since we're looking at engine rotate, I went ahead and pulled the battery out. That lets you slide the shock reservoir out through this hole. Down in there, stuff looks a little greasy. Get it out, you got the 4 screws around the outside, then you pull the fan out, disconnect the wiring connector, and it's out. And I will show you. The problem with these fans is they're expensive if you buy them from Buell, if you can even still get them. The only difference between these and a regular off-the-shelf Spal fan is the housing where it fits into the bike. So I'll show you how to change the fan out, save some money there. You can just get the regular fan, take it out of its factory housing, put it in this housing here, and you're good to go. Yeah, Junior was exactly right. I killed this fan by not going ahead and rotating the motor when I first got the bike. So, we'll just take care of it now. There's a view down inside of it. It's pretty nasty. That oil leaks from that rocker box cover and just runs all down the back of the motor. It ends up going through the fan. So I think at the time I thought it was the turret valve leaking, but now we'll have to rotate it, turn it, pull that off, put new gaskets. I did look out in the parts bag. We have everything we need, including the new stainless steel nuts for the exhaust, because they'll take off the header pipe. I want to polish it up a little more since it's never looked quite right since the guy had the header wrap on it. But I've got all the gaskets and everything, so not a big deal. You guys get to see how to rotate a motor. We'll just keep this first video about changing the fan out. Next video I'll do the engine rotation, but here is the new fan. Here is the part number for it. You can get those off eBay, you can get them from Summit Racing. They're a lot cheaper than this whole assembly from Buell. The difference is just the package it comes in. So what we need to do is take this center section of the fan out of this housing and put it in this housing. And I'll show you how that's done. What the deal is these 3 screws hold the motor into the housing. But as you can see, for it to slide up out of this piece of the housing, the blade would have to come off, and the blade is pressed on. So what we do is right here where my thumb's at, we cut that in 2 places, and you can flex that enough to get the fan out without any damage, and then you can put it back in and the screws hold it in place just fine. This old one, I've already put a fan in it. See the cut there? See the cut there? You can flex that, pull that right out and swap them. You can use a Dremel tool, you can use a hot razor blade, I don't care how you cut it, piece of a hacksaw blade, whatever will work to get you in there. And this one, since I don't need the housing on it, I'll probably just cut it with some side cutters. Just break it enough to get it out of there. This one, you need to be a little careful with so you can reuse it. All right, old fan coming out. There you go. Old fan's out. Housing is still intact. Clean it up, put the new fan in it, you're good to go. One other thing that's different, the wiring plugs. Here's the Buell one, it's the smaller one. So you need to cut the end off this one, take your Buell and splice it on. That's no big deal. Like I said, you do not need to save this housing, so just whatever you got to do to safely get the fan out of it. There's your new fan. Next part's just fastening your wires together. The yellow off the Buell plug goes to the red positive on the fan, black to black. You can use butt connectors, whatever you want. I usually solder them, heat shrink them, and then tape them a little bit. Seems to work good for me. All right, wiring's done. Just soldered them, taped them. Heat shrink tubing. Now let's put this fan back into the house. Just like it came out. Run the wire up. Put the bottom double-sided piece down, slide the fan in, and pop this piece below. Line it up properly and put your screws back in. 2 zip ties and it's done, ready to go back in the bike. Now I've just got to rotate the engine and fix the oil leak that caused this problem.